Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about Arcane Season 2. Arcane, the first season, it came out. I've said this before, I've tweeted it. I tried to think about more examples, but I really couldn't remember any. During the time Arcane Season 1 came out, which had themes of inequality in it, we had Squid Game and the Joker. And we were like newly out of a pandemic, and so the themes of wealth inequality were like even more, those themes were like in people's minds at the time. Season 1 it had those themes, but on the whole, it was like an incredibly more personal story. It was like about Vi, Caitlyn, and Jinx. And only very slightly about other side characters too. But mainly it was about the personal relationship between Vi, Cait, and Jinx. Come season 2, Come season 2, season 1 ends with Jinx blowing up the council, blowing up like the leaders of the upper class. And you wonder what they're going to do with it. And I do feel kind of bad for the writers because it is a hard task that they had on their hands. However, the thing is, while watching it, I was just really not into it, and I was just watching it for the sake of watching it. However, on the other side, I see posts like this of people sharing, the episodes with these like rounded out square boxes that are green, yellow, red, whatever. And everyone's rating these episodes 9, 10. Are there just 5 people rating them, spamming them with 10s? Like, what is this? These episodes aren't that good. Okay, season 1 is so much better than season 2. In season 2, the characters constantly go back and forth. And it might be just to push characters a bit more further, for example, Jinx. But Jinx adopts a little baby, and then the baby dies. No, wait. Jinx is at a really low, and there's this one detail that one of the people on the subreddit pointed out, which I actually appreciate. Other details, like, the thing is, for season 1, and of course because Arcane was in a way copying the art style of Spider-Verse, there was this person making videos I watched at the time, Schnee, I think his name was, who made video essays about Spider-Verse and Arcane. And I agreed with all of I liked and appreciated all of the stuff he had to say about Arcane, and all of the small details and stuff. However, none of those small details or like little things are in this season, I believe. Nothing clever or like subtle subtext, nothing bigger to say. There is this one small detail that I saw on the subreddit that I actually do like. Jinx nearly throughout the entire season has suicidal ideation where like, if she's trapped, she's like, go ahead, just kill me, I don't care, or whatever. But then she adopts this little child, and then she's actually sort of happy. Her hideout looks nicer, it looks better. She actually has fear when she's actually stuck, which is like actually good. There's another slight detail, like background things that you wouldn't even really think about, but they add so much to the story, to the visuals, to like actually what you're experiencing. What is that thing? You might not have noticed it, but your brain did. For example, like I said, Jinx being caught by someone who's going to kill her, and her not being scared because like she wants to die. And then later on, her being caught again, and then her actually showing fear in her eyes. Another detail is like something to do with Caitlyn, where they go to a hideout, and then she sees Vi, and then she only cares about Vi, which is a nice background detail or whatever. This is going to be more of a ramble rant like the X-Men 97 video. Speaking of Caitlyn, man, the story, the characters, what have they done? I do not understand it, and I do not understand how people like it so much. It kind of messes me up more that this is successful too, because just like the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker meme, I don't care if I just want Riot to lose. Caitlyn loses her mom because her mom was in the High Council. Caitlyn loses her mom, and then she becomes, for some reason, oh my god, man, Ambessa, the character from the last season, becomes more important. And you know what? I think something that broke the illusion for me too. I'll get to breaking the illusion more later. But like something that broke the illusion for me too is like, everything is an advertisement. Everything is for money, sure. Every movie in the end is for like to be able to make a profit, a net profit, a gross profit. But when it's like advertising, You know, like if it's a bad superhero movie or something, it'll just be advertising other superhero movies or toys or something to little kids. I have no clue about that. I would never like movies like that. But season 2, like season 1 was fine. It was a self-contained story, and it was more like if you want to go try out League, like it made something good, had nothing to do with the actual game, but never like pushed League of Legends so hard, if you ask me. Season 2, I don't know if anybody knows this, but Ambessa is an actual champion in League of Legends now. And that's why she's like so important in this season too. Anyway, Ambessa manipulates, tricks, convinces people. It wasn't that hard. She says you guys were attacked. She says Piltover was attacked and somebody needs to take charge. And then she randomly just says Caitlyn for some reason. Like there's nothing significant about Caitlyn other than like her mom was on the council. Like there's nothing important about her. Or maybe because Ambessa thinks she can manipulate Caitlyn. Which, yes, Caitlyn becomes Caitlyn becomes a marshal deputy of like Piltover, and then becomes like a dictator or whatever, ruling with an iron fist. And Ambessa rules through Caitlyn, like manipulates Caitlyn to do her own thing, to do Ambessa's stuff, which is so weak. She's so easily manipulated. And later on into season 2, like episode 7 or something, I think, Caitlyn admits to Vi that like, man, I wasn't doing good. I let her took advantage of me, and I'm still letting that happen. Gosh darn it, I don't know what to do now. So stupid. Speaking of Ambessa and the Enforcers, and like so unnecessary, why would they pick Caitlyn? They add 4 new characters. I watched it. I ended up stumbling across this video who mentioned this thing. They add 4 characters. 4, I think. Steb. I have no clue. Not even just the Enforcers. They have other characters too. They have Maddie. So Caitlyn and Vi have a falling out, and then Caitlyn has a rebound that's named Maddie and starts having sex with her, and then Vi goes and fucking Vi becomes an alcoholic and starts getting beat up. What the fuck? And like the time jump doesn't work here either. They tried to do another time jump that they did last season, but like they grew up there. How long has the martial law been happening, and like how long was like Vi getting beat up in the back of an alley in a like bar fight or whatever? So they add Maddie. They add this big buff guy. They add this small, long fish guy. Actually, they add this long, lanky fish guy. I can't remember if there are anyone else. And then, like, those are the Enforcers. Those are the police. Then they add this guy called Cheems, and then another one called Rennie. And these 5 characters who are bad, like who are supposed to be from Zon, I guess, you know, to say. Just being classist here casually. They add these 5 characters. Again, the illusion is broken. These guys are only introduced into the show to be to be placed into TFT because they needed new characters for TFT to complete the set. Maddie has barely any plot relevance. And I don't even know what happens to the other, like, 2 Enforcers. I think one of them dies, but I don't care, because they're not characters. And then Cheems is one of the bad guys who actually shows up for 2 seconds. He's one of the guys who threatened Jinx, and she didn't care at the time. And Silco's other henchman, Silco's right-hand man, she actually had some relevance. She was put in TFT too. That's fine. But like Rennie, I don't even know who Rennie is. I think Rennie is one of the people who got poisoned by, was that in season 1? I can't even remember. Anyway, speaking of Maddie, so Caitlyn admits to Vi that she's being manipulated. And then Maddie was with Caitlyn at the time. And then Caitlyn tells Maddie to go outside and then talks with Vi. Maddie listens on to their conversation. And that bitch, this is another thing too. This show has a pacing issue. I'm gonna say this as well. It breaks itself into 3 acts. This season, both seasons have 9 episodes. And it says Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. This is very much not paced in a 3-act structure kind of way. You only call them acts because you want more time to be relevant. Instead of dumping all 9 seasons into one, and instead of like dragging it out over 9 weeks, you're making 3 weeks where you dump 3 episodes, 3 episodes, 3 episodes. Those are not acts. You're just saying acts for the sake of it to look more mature, more sophisticated or whatever. So the pacing is bad. Out of nowhere, it becomes a war and a fight out of nowhere where the fireflies, they're not fireflies. Fireflies are The Last of Us. I can't remember. But Echo and his gang start fighting the enforcers up top, fighting Ambessa and the enforcers. Maddie listens into the conversation that Caitlyn has with Vi, and then goes and tells Ambessa this, and then backstabs, I think literally backstabs Caitlyn with a small knife. And she's like wounded or whatever. Dude, and then this scrawny sniper lady fights this big buff lady with like enchanted runes and shit. Also, again, this is kind of like what I was talking about with like a superhero movie being advertising for another superhero movie, like Age of Ultron, for example, showing off like Ragnarok and a bunch of other stuff. The Black Rose was incredibly unnecessary. The Black Rose was super unnecessary. Mel is like the chosen one, and like she has magical abilities out of nowhere, and she's going to be a champion in League of Legends probably. Mel has powers out of nowhere. Her subplot was so unnecessary. The only good thing about the show was kind of Victor. There was this one part in the show that I kind of liked, where Jace goes on to his own small odyssey in like the post-apocalyptic future or something. I'm not exactly sure. It is kind of esoteric. I kind of enjoyed it, except it wasn't really that deep. Other than like visuals or whatever, it didn't actually really have substance. It reminded me of that episode in Justice League or something. I can't remember the show's actual name, full name. Where like Superman gets sent into the future and his powers don't work anymore, and he has to like fight by himself and he's all torn up and stuff. It reminded me of that, except instead of liking the characters in Justice League, instead of liking Superman, I don't really care for Jace all that much, let alone all of the other stuff that's happening. Like, that's only just one part of the episode, right? Anyway, I'm all over here. I'm just ranting. Later on in that same episode, Jace comes to the top of a tower, comes to the top of a building or whatever, and there he sees a man, a figure, which turns out to be the same person that he saw as a kid. Which turns out, because they changed Victor and his lore, they changed his lore, his backstory, his story, how he works, everything about him, and all of the things in Arcane are now coming to League of Legends. Warwick is changing into whatever the fuck they tried to do with Vander. Jinx is changing. Vi is changing. Caitlyn is changing. Jace is changing. Victor is changing. Heimerdinger isn't changing. Where the hell is he? And Echo. So Jace comes up to the top of a tower or whatever, and he sees a figure, which turns out to be the same figure he saw as a child, if he saw him see in the first season. Which turns out to be Victor, because Victor becomes a god or something. He becomes like an eldritch, like above everything being, a god. Which was so not the direction to go, if you ask me. Why couldn't they make technology and stuff? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Speaking of Echo and Heimerdinger, they get same as Jace. They get teleported into like a parallel dimension or whatever. Echo has a moment with Jinx Powder in another universe. And I'm just going to, this really isn't important, I'm just going to say it. They dance together, Echo and Jinx dance together, and in the background there's music. Oh my god, that too. Okay, first, I'm of the belief that seasons should, at least visually it was fine. I believe seasons should have different intros from each other. That's just me. I know it's not important. I know I skip every intro now and then. I can't be, like 30 seconds is important. But I just think seasons should have different theme songs. Having the same Imagine Dragons song is kind of lazy. Speaking of songs, I'm pretty sure this came up. Heavy is the Crown played, right? Into season 2. I might be completely wrong about that, for, whatever about that. And, like having this League of Legends song, if I am wrong, whatever. Having this League of Legends World song made by LinkedIn, what the fuck? Made by Linkin Park, be shoved into Arcane 2, because like that just comes off lazy. Anyway, they get, instead of spending money onto like making a better story, they get these publicity stuff. Like, for example, they already did it last season, which is fine, but like, why not have your actual voice actors? I don't know, I guess it is a different medium, but like, we have Haley Steinfeld, we have Apparently, Jinx is voiced by the girl from Fallout. There are so many famous voice actors in this show. Instead of putting money into actually a good story, they get this publicity stuff. They get, what was his name? Stromae, the French singer Stromae. And they have his song in the parallel universe playing in the background while Echo and Jinx powder, dance. And this isn't important. I'm just gonna say it. I have justification though. I've figured out why I have this pet peeve. I don't like other languages in like my fantasy worlds. Okay, not other. I don't like other real life languages in my fantasy worlds because it just doesn't really make sense. Same with accents. This is an entirely fantasy world. Add other. If it was our Earth and there were like other continents or something placed on it, I guess that kind of would make sense. But like the entire landscape, the entire Pangea is different than Earth. Having a French accent implies the existence of France. And that doesn't make sense. Where there are monks, there are conquesting orc-like civilizations, there are places made out of animals, and there are places where there are rich snobs and like rundown shacks. It doesn't make sense all of those working together. Not to mention that France isn't a real place, so it just doesn't make sense. Going back, so Maddie backstabs Caitlyn, and then Caitlyn has a 1v1 with Ambessa. Again, this thin sniper lady is now having a 1v1 up close and personal with this big bluff warrior lady who has like magic runes too, by the way. I'm not sure exactly how that stuff was working out, what the logic, what the reasoning with all of that was. But later on, Mel comes to save Caitlyn a bit. Mel like gives a support buff or something. And then somehow, again, I tried to the moment I saw it, the moment I was watching it, I like wanted to rewind, but I wasn't an asshole to the other people watching with me, so I didn't rewind. I could not understand how Caitlyn somehow managed to. Caitlyn gets hit, gets cut, gets stabbed, and still somehow manages to land the final blow onto Ambessa, killing her. I don't get it. She somehow gets stabbed in the eye. And then she starts wearing an eye patch, which is just like, oh my god, she looks so cool now, I guess. And eye patches make you look cool. Ugh. And, you know, not to mention their other next thing going to be in Noxus. Considering this, I'm entirely not interested. I want to say this other detail. So, while Mel was having her Black Rose subplot, I remember this very vividly on the Arcane subreddit, because like people are like seeing things in the background and they're like, oh my god, is this person this? They were actually right with something. Like in the end, turns out Singed for some reason. It could work, but it didn't. Honestly, Singed was like kind of annoying too, how nobody really gave a fuck about Singed. He was just doing his own thing. Singed was so apathetic, and then people didn't really care about what Singed was doing either. Singed turns out to be the dad, the parent of Oriana, which Oriana's creator just being mysterious, unknown, worked so much more for me, if you ask me. And like, what are they gonna do about Blitzcrank or whatever? So that I have no faith in Noxus. I had so little faith in Riot in general, and like it was Arcane Season 2 so much got influenced by this. It's like, you know, this happens a lot with studios. Like sometime, like just a quick example that comes to my mind right now. Spider-Man 3 was just going to have one villain, but then the studio was like, add this villain too. It was going to have like one or two villains, like I think it was going to have Green Goblin and Sandman only, but then the studio was like, you have to add Venom, and then it just became this entire mess. I'm pretty sure that's what happened with Arcane Season 2. Like there's no way Riot didn't affect this. So I saw this. So during Mel's Black Rose subplot, which her being able to control it, whatever, that was also esoteric. Her later on being able to control it and use it against Ambessa is ridiculous. It's like so stupid. During Mel's Black Rose subplot, there's this man we see. He has such an incredibly chiseled jaw, and he is black. Turns out it's... Did we hear a name? I can't remember, but turns out it's Mel's brother, and I can't remember if we heard a name. I'm pretty sure we did, and it didn't turn out to be him. But there is this other character in League of Legends called Cassante. And, you know, the thing is, people can't... I was gonna find it hilarious if they were going to connect that too. Because it entirely would not make sense. And Cassante like just came out, like not he was like 2 champions ago. He's like the second newest champion or something. And like them retconning his story to be like into like a gay sand tribal man into like this general's son would be so stupid. But I'm saying this because like I wouldn't hold it against them. One, they did that Oriana thing. Two, in season 1, everyone was speculating whether this character was this. Like in the brothel where people were like, oh my god, is that like a Kindred mask? Oh my god, is that Talia? Oh my god, is that another Yordle we've seen before? I'll talk about Yordles later. And I shit you not, I can't believe how racist this is. I don't know, I cannot comprehend the like, how... Some people on the Arcane subreddit had thought that one of Vi and Powder's friends from childhood, who had like kind of sideburns, was like kind of hairy, was Wukong. I swear to God. These people are ridiculous. I don't know if I have anything else to say right now. I think that's about it. Season 1 was something like a lot personal. It was about class struggles and stuff too, but mainly it was about this trio, Caitlyn, Vi, and Jinx. It was about family, sisterhood, parents, abusers, and class struggles. Season 2, it wasn't about that. It didn't have to be about that. It's completely fine to not be about that. And the story can take a different direction. It's fine. Okay, wait, I take it back. I do have more. Later, oh my god, at some point, so Victor becomes a god or whatever, right? Before that, he owns a cult. Before that, he becomes a cult leader, and then the Noxians, Mbassa and crew, goes and commands the cult, like takes it over. And then later on, Caitlyn, secretly with Vi and Jinx, they team up to go and infiltrate that place. It's really so out of nowhere, unnecessary. Like this, the story didn't have to have the same themes as season 1. And it's completely fine that it went a different direction. But I just didn't enjoy it. I don't like the way they took the story in season 2. And I don't think it was done well. Both pacing, both writing, both like also kind of screenplay, because like some things just don't make sense. Oh, another thing, earlier I told you guys like I heard this guy say they added these characters just to fill out the TFT roster. Another thing, so like the pacing is bad, right? Out of nowhere there's a war, there's a big fight scene with like turrets and infantry, like a ship bringing in soldiers, and then like the firelights or whatever they're called, they come in their gliders and stuff. That guy also mentioned these characters out of nowhere get their like iconic looks for no reason. Like instead of like introducing them, all of a sudden Echo has his like little bat that he uses to smack people with. All of a sudden Victor has his third arm in his back or whatever. I really don't like Victor's design too. I don't think he looks good. I haven't talked about the ending too. I need to talk about the ending. Oh shit. Before the ending, oh man, this is such a cliche that I don't really like. In Transformers 1, they did it too. Okay, look, Neon Genesis Evangelion. It is pretty good, I'd say. It has 3 other movies that are really dog water, and in those, because it's because they're not good, because they're being a cringe shonen teen fantasy or whatever, Shinji, the depressed little boy, when he gets angry, his eyes turn red. In Arcane season 2, it happened in season 1, didn't it? So like Jinx gets like poisoned by like the drug or whatever, and her eyes turn purplish. But not just that, you know, like Jinx is a scrawny ass girl who only has a machine gun. So like how is she going to fight with a like muscled up girl with like metal boxing gloves? She has like she's like super fast. She becomes like the Flash. And she has like this fade effect, and like her eyes, the purple in her eyes, like have a lingering effect. They have like a glow behind it or whatever, almost like, you know, like nitro in a racing game or something. It's hilarious. Jinx goes back and forth between being depressed and then being okay, which on one hand is completely realistic. It's completely fine, but again, I don't think they handled it well. And also too, yes, it's realistic, but like also you have to, like, you can make something real, but you also have to make it engaging. Like this is, I'm not watching a documentary or something here. I'm watching entertainment. Like there are ways to show things and ways to do things that make things entertaining and engaging to watch. And like that really wasn't wasn't it. So there's a war that breaks out. Caitlyn kills Ambessa somehow. The Firelights or whatever show up to help Piltover against the Noxians. Ambessa dies, that stuff is over, or whatever. Vander becomes Warwick and like loses all control or something. Jinx shows up out of nowhere, kind of like a Deus Ex Machina with a machine gun, mowing down Noxians. And then later on, once that stuff is over, Jinx, was Caitlyn there? I can't remember. Jinx, Caitlyn, and Vi are running away from Vander because he becomes like a werewolf and he's like bloodlust. He's like so hungry, like wants to kill or whatever. And like the humanity in Vander is like lost and stuff. How she doesn't get torn in half, it doesn't make sense. So they're in a huge tower and like it doesn't have a bottom or something. It doesn't have a floor and they're hanging off a ledge. Oh, speaking of real quick, the Jinx comes up in like a Zeppelin helicopter thing and turns out that's her lair. I thought that was neato. So the gang is stuck in a tower with an angry werewolf who's super strong, like very obviously super strong than all of them, even Vi. And they're trying to run away, trying to reason, trying to hold back on killing Vander. They don't want to. So they get stuck on a ledge. Jinx nearly falls. Vi catches Jinx. And then Vander, Warwick, grabs onto Jinx's leg. So if I couldn't paint this picture well enough, Vi is on the floor at a ledge, reaching out, grabbing Jinx, while Jinx is like hanging off from Vi, while Warwick is also this like nearly 6 times bigger than Jinx, because Jinx is scrawny as fuck. Nearly 6 times bigger than Jinx, hanging off of her. The fact, like, there's no reaction to in this scene. No, like, strain. No, like, holy shit, this weight from my ankle is pulling me apart. So, like, Vander just casually grabs onto Jinx's leg. Why Vander doesn't go up, or, like, even take a nibble of her leg or something doesn't make sense. Because the only reason this scene exists is to have a forced, emotional self-sacrifice. We're like, oh my god, Vander is on top of me. And we're both going to fall. There's no way we can make it out of this. I need to let go. You need to let go. And like maybe that symbolism or whatever subtext for like Vi letting go of Powder and Jinx, which she already did, by the way. She accepted Powder was gone and Jinx is gone. Fine, go ahead and tell me that wasn't true. Whatever. But on top of that, we also saw before that like Vander can just jump up to these walls and crawl up. Speaking of, the geography in this scene did not make sense either, like whether we were up, down, left, or right. So they're dangling off each other. Jinx, for some reason, is like, she has great legs or something. I don't know what to say. They have this moment. It takes like nearly a whole minute for this exchange to happen. Jinx is like, you have to let me go or whatever. And like Vi's, no, I can't do it or whatever. And then Jinx does it herself, where she pops off the power supply of the gauntlet. She's using the gauntlet to grab onto Jinx. And then the gauntlet loses power and goes loose and then lets go of Jinx. And then they both fall down. Jinx and Vander both fall down to their supposed death. And it's supposed to be super emotional. But it has no weight to it. And like, it's just so forced. And also, with these people who are shoving Oriana, Noxus, so many things into the show, am I really going to believe that Jinx is actually dead? If you ask me, Jinx should have been dead in the first episode or like end of last season. She fucking threw herself into a rocket. Wait, no, did she do it? That was a music video. Whatever. I don't believe Jinx is dead. I don't believe Vander is dead. One, Vander could come up. Like, if he fell, it would be fine. 2, the fall wouldn't kill him. Oh, I remembered the other thing I was going to say, by the way. I was talking about Yordles and stuff, right? Yordles are like these... No, those are Vestayan. Vestayans are like these half-animal people. But... I don't know. I just don't think Steb makes sense. And we see a bunch of other characters too, who their mixing and matching of animal features just doesn't make sense in my eyes. I just don't know. If you ask me, it just reads as a bad reading of the lore and the universe and stuff. And I think I'm finally done ranting about this. Wow, it's wow. So season 1 was actually really good. I think I'm fine with my previous rating. In a sense, like season 2 just makes season 1 look better in a way. I would have preferred season 1 to just exist by itself and not have a season 2, but whatever, it's fine. Season 2, I can't find myself rating it out anything more than a 5. Honestly, I saw this other thing with the same format. I don't know what website this is. Is this IMDb? I'm not sure. Saw the same format with ratings for another show. And now it really means nothing to me. Your boos mean nothing. I see what makes you cheer. Jesus Christ. So, that's about it. That was a whole long rant. I'm so tired by this. I'm so tired by this. I'm so tired by Riot. I'm so tired by Tencent, League of Legends. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Goodbye, everyone.